Hello and welcome to Hardlore Stories from Tour. It's Not Fest, baby.
Episode 4.
Yeah. I think we're taking the numbers out of the titles because who cares?
Because it's going to get confusing. Yeah.
But
who do we got today, Colin?
Oh my God. We've got the universally beloved music and television star, Andy Williams. Andy, thank you.
Hi, guys.
Hey. You're looking good there.
Hi. Yeah, real cool.
Where are you at?
Hotel in Baltimore, Maryland.
Delicious.
You going to Jimmy's Famous Seafood tonight or what?
I was hoping so, but I got in late and then I had to do this podcast. But I don't know. I'm sure tomorrow I will eat some sort of Jimmy's seafood. I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
Excellent.
good.
I've never had it. It's like the American Ribera.
It is. The American Ribera is a great comparison. They need a Jimmy's Seafood jacket.
I would love to wear one.
I know for a fact that you would.
I know.
The parallel. I feel like music and wrestling are kind of the two worlds where touring is like an absolute certainty. If you want,
I have one more: stand-up comedy.
Stand-up comedy.
That makes
all
sense.
three are like the exact same.
But stand-up comedy, though, I mean, like, save for like Dane Cook, physically, because he's putting his body on the line every time he's up there. Just people want to kill him. But like wrestlers and musicians, wrestlers more so, obviously, but we're beating the shit out of ourselves every time we're up there. So just like a regular person, if they felt what it felt like to just be in your body for a day, I feel like they'd fall apart.
When I was like touring and wrestling at the same time, that would be, if I could transfer that pain to someone, they would be like, dude, you're insane. You're an insane human being. So yeah, now I'm like glad that like touring is kind of off for a bit. And
because you're touring. Like
because
I
just do it one day a week though.
So awesome.
How cool is that?
Yeah. That's the best part.
It was when I went the first time I went to like an indie thing. Brody was wrestling in Chicago for This Is Progress.
Yeah.
Progress, yeah.
I remember that.
And I realized like, oh, he's selling t-shirts. He's watching everybody else work. Like it's literally just like, oh, this is like touring. Like it's the same shit.
It's fun. Like Colin, I don't know if you've made it to a show yet, but like the old PWG was like exactly a hardcore show or a punk show or a metal show. Like it was just like, and I remember like the first time I had went to a PWG, like I didn't really have any ambition to like wrestle in a ring in front of a crowd. I just wanted to kind of like bump around for like Pepper and the boys in Buffalo, and that's it. And then I remember I went to a PWG show in like, it was like 2014 or something like that. And it was just like, oh my God, here are my people. Like this is what I want to do. This is what I want. And it was exactly the same thing when I went to my first like punk show, like when I knew what I was going to see, you know what I mean? It wasn't just like, oh, here's like some friends playing in like a garage or something like that at a party. It was like, sick of it all. I went, you know what I mean? And like, I remember like that show, there was just mayhem I'd never seen before. And then it was like, oh, wow, I know this is like, I don't know these people, but like, I kind of know these people.
But I already am them in a way.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, aside from going to like WWE shit when I was a kid and then going to like a couple of AEW things, I went to a GCW thing in like it's out in the burbs here in like a indoor soccer place. And it was like, people are sitting on whatever. I saw friends who I hadn't seen in years.
Yeah.
And we all kind of shared this thing and they were like, what are you doing here? And I was like, what are you, it's such a weird Venn diagram of like crossover and you're finding yourself like directly in the middle.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is that like anyone who's written a song can wrestle a wrestling match. It's very similar to like putting a song together is just like putting a wrestling match together. There's ups and downs and peaks and valleys, and you can't really, it really is. It's exactly like I'm on that thing I was telling you about off camera. a podcast I'm going to do is essentially that, is where it's like crossing the world of like music with wrestling and like other art forms that literally are exactly the same. It's just we all speak a language, and like Bo, like you and I know guitar, like that's a language that we speak. Colin knows like 100 different fucking languages because he knows every fucking instrument. And like wrestling is a different language, and like it's crazy how like the similarities. And it's like without a guitar, I can go in there and play a song with a dude's body and he can do the same thing with mine. And it's the same like kind of thing. Like when you put a match together,
that's structure. Awesome. It's like every great match has an amazing mosh part, basically.
100%. Always.
When I first met you, Andy,
yeah,
I think it was like 2010, 2011, you know? So this is pre like the like social media New Japan boom of like Kenny and the Bucks and stuff. So me just mentioning to you like, hey, I like wrestling. You were like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah,
like you like wrestling? And then you told me that it like you gave it a shot, but hurt your knee at some point. So like, you had already ruled it out.
Yeah.
And now here you are.
Yeah. It's eat really
Jimmy's
weird.
seafood with the fresh new jacket on, baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to just fill my face with seafood and never think about that. Like that is like I don't know, man. There was like something that happened in England with a fight, and it was like the first time I'd gotten like beat up in a long time. Like I'd gotten beat up in a really long time, but at that time I didn't give a shit about my body. I was literally just stoked about being like a fat guitar player in a band, and I just kind of let myself go. And I remember like a fight happening where like I got hit with a bottle, I got kicked in the face. And I remember like after the fight, I was just like, well, that's never going to happen again. And I like got home. I think like Grapplers Anonymous opened like not that far after that, but I had been like working out and then going to California and training with Josh Barnett and like just doing stuff like that, where like I was just going out and rolling with them, and then we would kind of like break into like little pro wrestling things, you know what I mean? And then he was kind of showing me the ropes. And like I said, I was going out to California, and then when I went to that PWG show, it was just like, all right, that's it.
This is it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I have a excellent story that ties all of that together.
You got a story, Bo?
Yeah, I got a story, but it's directly tied to Andy. There we go.
All right.
So the year is 2003, I believe, maybe 2002.
Okay. Woo.
I'm a freshman, can't drive. Chris Mills is a sophomore, doesn't have his license yet. My dad picks us up and drives us into the city to the Fireside to see American Nightmare, Every Time I Die, Suicide File, Hope Conspiracy.
Yeah.
Woo.
What a show.
First hardcore show ever.
Yeah.
But I was like for whatever reason, I was a huge American Nightmare guy at the time.
Yeah.
I was like fucking obsessed, and I liked all the other bands. It was the first time I had like heard or seen Every Time I Die, and like I was so obsessed with getting a good spot for AN that I was like, I have to be up front. I was like 14, you know?
Yeah.
And Jordan was almost hitting me with his guitar, like scary. And that was the first time where I was like, oh, the bands can be scary too.
Yeah.
That's something. Haven't thought about that one. And then, dude, and then the whole AN set, I just knelt on the stage and tried to grab Wes's hand the entire time to grab the mic. I was I was a punisher. And then, Colin, you'll love this. Then outside, Chris and I were talking to Jared Alexander, who like I didn't realize, but Chris, being a drummer, was like, oh my God, right? And he was like, yeah, I just got done recording the new Throwdown LP, which was Haymaker. Like, it's crazy, blah, blah, blah. And we were like, oh, wow. And I went, Jason Alexander, isn't that the Seinfeld guy? And he went, no, it's Jared. And I said, oh, man, sorry about that. Hey, can I use your cell phone? And I used his cell phone to call my dad. To come pick us up.
Awesome.
Dude,
I was just like a terrible punisher the whole fucking night.
Have you ever told him that's...
I've only met Wes, or no, I've never met Jared Alexander.
Yeah.
I met Wes like way later on, and I just didn't want to bring it up.
Of course.
so long ago. I was actually, before we started, there's a picture of me, a little Edge hoodie, trying to grab Wes. It was,
I love that,
man. But like,
You know
I
that he
remember
probably-
seeing you, and I remember thinking like, that's a big man. Like that's a large man on that stage.
Yeah, 2003 too. I was pretty skinny at that time. Yeah.
But you're tall. You've always like, it's not like, right?
That I remember. Chicago used to be terrifying to me because that was the only other place where there were big people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everyone. You had like Luke from The Killer, and I mean Remus was a maniac at that time. There was like a bunch of there was a bunch of Shane Cinecrosis. I could
I mean Shane still books like 90% of all the hardcore shows.
Good.
You know, and there are what's funny about shows like that too is like that was a sold out show at the Fireside, which it was a bowling alley, Colin. So like they would let people like basically be on the lanes spill over. So there really wasn't like a cap.
That sounds so slippery.
It was awesome.
It's our like CBs. Like you can find AFI playing there, Youth of Today, or maybe Shelter like later, you know, but blah blah blah. But like every band has.
I have a story.
Please.
I have a story.
You have a story?
I have a Buried Alive. Right. I have a Buried Alive story from Fireside. So at the time, Charlie Mark couldn't tour, so I always toured with Buried Alive, and then he kind of took my spot when like Etid kind of started like doing things. But like I remember at that show, I remember walking in, I was terrified because it was a Fireside Bowl, and like you said, it was kind of like Chicago's like CBGB, so it's kind of intimidating, and like I can't remember the show. I think like maybe Martyr played the show, or so I can't remember the show, but it was definitely Buried Alive, All Out War, someone else, possibly Turmoil.
That's a gig, man.
Anyways,
dude.
Yeah.
Put that in MSG this year.
Dude, before package touring, shows were so cool. And it was kind of like gambling like a casino, because like there was no internet. So like you literally were just riding up to a show and then you'd be like, holy shit, like Turmoil's on the show. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just would happen and you'd be like,
sure.
Oh, wow, I get to see all these cool bands. But this day isn't about any of that. It's about Vogel like yelling at me like a child at one. Like the first time I'd ever been yelled at, and mind you, there's like times where me and Vogel have almost fought. Like I'd probably say about 20 different times where like we were literally red in the face, and it's just because we like love each other so much, and like I want to kill him a lot of times. But this time I remember like, dude, I was 17 years old and I started touring with them. Like 17. Like
you were his young boy.
What was that?
You were his young lion.
Straight up. Literally, I was a young boy. So like I remember like getting the merch in there, putting it on the ground. The other bands had their spot. And obviously that's fucking intimidating. You're a 17-year-old kid and you're like seeing bands that you love.
Yeah.
And you have to go up to them and be like, hey man, can you like make room for me? Right. Well, I didn't know any of that etiquette. Yeah. This is like five shows in or something like that I'm like finally touring for the first time. And I look over, I grab Vogel and I go, dude, I don't know where to put this merch. And he just grabs me. He goes, hey, I brought you on tour to do fucking merch. You do the fucking merch. Go fucking take care of it. And I was like I immediately like got mad, and I was like, ugh. And I remember like going to like Joe Orlando and that. I like the other dudes in Buried Alive being like, I'm mad right now and I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know where to put this fucking merch. There's no room for it, blah, blah, blah. Like, not understanding that you could just go up to a human being and say like, hey man, can I just get like a little bit of room here, blah, blah, blah. I had no idea. I didn't know the etiquette. But that was like the first time Vogel ever yelled at me. And I remember being like, it was in the Fireside Bowl, like, you know when you like walk in and then right to the right where there used to be like little benches.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm standing there like that, and I just, dude, red face, tears in my eyes, like, like I wanted to kill him, but at the same time, I'm like looking at Scott Vogel. You know what I mean? Like at that time, he was like, he was our Hogan. You know what I mean? He was Buffalo's Hogan.
Absolutely,
he still is.
Yeah. He's Buffalo's Hogan, and he moved away,
and now he's back.
And now he's back.
You ever see him?
Yeah. Though unfortunately, no. Every single time we like try to hang out, something happens.
Later on, being in a band with War Chief after he was done touring with Buried Alive was very reminiscent of that experience every single day.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Can only imagine.
I met Scott way later in his life, you know?
Yeah, I did too.
He's just like...
He never yelled at you guys?
He's never yelled at me.
Never.
I've only toured with him once, and I've never worked for... I'm like one of like 8 people in LA who's never worked for Terror.
Yeah.
That are 30 and up.
Dude, I've worked for Terror.
See?
Yeah.
And
everyone's worked for Terror.
Buried
Alive. Everyone's worked for Vogel.
Sure. The Vogel Enterprises, you know.
Yeah.
I met Scott, like we were both on the same diet at the same time. So, and I met him way earlier, but it got to a point where there was like 3 months where I hung out with Scott every day.
Yeah.
Like
so it's just like
you're
gonna
3
eat.
years ago. Like I'm the same guy as then.
Right.
So it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Did you guys do anything cool when you hung out?
We hiked every day.
That's the story?
We hiked every like me. He would be like, "What do we like?" You know, or like, "What do we hate?" Like at the beginning of every hike.
Everything, and then you get like the random like words that he makes up, and he's just asking you a question. And you're like, "Oh, am I choice today or am I moist?" I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or 10 seconds of silence and then just him being like, "I'm moist."
Yeah.
When we first toured with them and we were talking about like he found out that I was like me and James were like youth crew kids on this first tour we did with them, but like huge. He had 2 iPods with him on this 2011. Mm-hmm. He had 2 normal ass iPods and he made us take them for the drive. He was like,
he has everything on there.
There's shit in here you're never gonna hear. It was just like, listen to that. And James and I were like, okay. And that was it. He was always chill.
I do have to say this, like, Colin, you and I had this conversation before where I was like, I don't know if I was asking you or I was asking you or you about your brother, about listening to bands who are like heavy, but not heavy. And I remember like throwing you some bands, and I remember you being like, I mean, I think I would take a chance my brother would never listen to that. Like, I remember that. So this story is like that Buried Alive was like, kind of what you were saying, Bo. Like when I first started touring with Buried Alive, I was like, if it wasn't from New York City, I just didn't want anything to do with it. So it was just every New York band, and then obviously I liked some like weirder stuff, but like not like it was majority like, you know, New York hardcore, and like that was a majority of, or anything from the East Coast. And I remember touring with them, and I remember like them listening to like the Turning Point stuff when the guys like sold out. And then being like, holy shit, like Behind These Walls might be the greatest hardcore song of all time.
Of all time.
So it got to a point where we would listen to that song every single day. So as soon as we got in the van, we would turn that song on and we would do it. And then I was like listening to like melodic, like vocals for the first time. And then like the other dudes were listening to like Chamberlain and like stuff like that. And I was forced to listen to like music with melody. And I remember being like in the van, just being like, oh, not again. And that was the time where you had to have like a CD Walkman with like a huge booklet of like CDs.
Right.
And then you had to have money for batteries. And like, there'd be times where the batteries would be dead. You know what I mean? Just shit like that. Like, and I'd just be sitting in the van and then like listening to music that I never would listen to. And then going home and being like, well, I have to go to the store and buy that record now. And like buying like, Radiohead records and like weird, just shit I never would listen to. And like,
was the illusion shattered a bit? Like Scott Vogel listening to nothing but hot water music for 30 days, I'm sure. Was that like, wow.
I mean, a little bit, but it wasn't like, I think I was always kind of a little almost famous about touring. Like when I was a kid, I was always so like, I'm still like that to this day. Like I'm 44 years old, and like every single time I head to an arena, like I'm like I like walk around like a child, like looking at everything I possibly can.
How
and then
can
like,
you not?
You know what I mean? So like I was a little more like I was just a little more like in wonder of like the whole situation and like documenting it in my head as much as I possibly could. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was just weird things that I like would take about touring with Buried Alive, where like I remember knocking a dude out somewhere I'm moshing, like I had blah blah blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I remember this guy was the Hogan of whatever scene this was, and I was like, just standing in the middle of the pit. And I remember like
you were a little stiff with him.
Scott saying over the mic, like, "Hey, the song goes out to our merch guy Andy. I just please go behind the merch right now." And then like going behind the merch, and then the entire show wanting to beat me up, and then like getting thrown in a van, and then like being scared, like, oh my God, I have to go back to that city in like 2 months or whatever. And I remember like going back with Every Time I Die, and this one dude was on the side of the stage just staring at me the whole time, and I'm just like, oh my God, like these dudes are gonna beat me up. And then it was this dude's band played next, and then he grabs the mic and he's like, he points me out, and then apparently the dude who I knocked out had done something really sketchy in the time period that I had been there, and the entire crowd like cheered for me knocking this guy out like 5 years before this or whatever, 3 years or 2 years or whatever it was. Like, and I just have the like with Buried Alive, I have these like weird little like childhood memories because I was a kid like when I did it. Dude, Chicago, Carryhausen, I fish hooked Carryhausen in a crowd.
Oh no.
I used to like high cross body people. And like I remember like high cross bodying like a part of the crowd, and then I heard a guy I didn't know. I never knew about the stuff. And then as I was standing up, like Carrie was right there, and I grabbed her face and like fish hooked her, and like pulled as I stood up, wearing like a full FUBU like basketball outfit.
That was your gimmick at the time. I was gonna ask. You've had.
I did have a gimmick.
Carrie's like the Miss Elizabeth of Chicago.
She is the best. Yeah.
Just like
Carrie is like a legend.
A beloved Chicago lady.
Yeah. Her and I, another very life story. We were in like St. Louis, and like Carrie, every once in a while in like the Midwest, Carrie would like drive to a few shows with us. Like she would drive separate or whatever. And like dudes would like get in the car with her, and then we would drive the van. And I remember this one time we were somewhere, we had to get to this house, and the only place they had for us to sleep was like right in this area where like kitty litter had been spilled.
Oh, come on, brother. We've all lived that one.
But here's the thing is, and like you can agree with me with this, Bo, like Carrie was like older than us.
Yeah.
And I like way older than us. Not like way older than us, but like at that time when you're 17 and someone's like 21,
yeah,
that's like way older. Like Vogel was 21 when I was 17 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And him and Carrie were the same age. But I remember like being like, I can believe I'm sleeping in cat shit right now, but I can't believe Carryhausen is sleeping in cat shit right now. Like it was the weirdest thing. And like, you know, we were all sleeping in this room, and like no one could sleep. So you'd hear people at like 5 a.m. just like grumble over, and then hear like the rocks like sliding from like the kitty litter and shit like that. Like, oh man. Tour lore, guys, or whatever.
Yeah, Hardlore,
dude. This is what it's about.
Dude, we went to the UK in like 2016 or something, and we were sleeping on someone's floor outside of Leeds, and we walked in, and the only smell was cat urine.
Yeah,
that was it. There's no mistaking that smell. It's like one of the most like skunk, you know, fresh cut grass. Like there's no mistaking it.
It's there for life too. As soon as
it's brutal. And the guy who was playing bass with us at the time is like deathly like sleep in the van, allergic to cats.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, you guys have a cat, Aaron? You should probably. And they're like, no.
Just no
sold the cat, and there was absolutely a cat somewhere. There was a litter box that we found.
Maybe it was a sore subject.
Maybe it was a sore. Yeah, maybe the cat just passed.
Is that the worst place you ever stayed? Like, what's the worst place you ever stayed?
Oh, I got.
Colin, you go, and then I'll go, and I'm sure Andy's.
Let's rebuttal this too. If anyone's listening and we stayed with you at some point in time, it doesn't mean we're not like appreciative.
Of course.
You just got to clean up a little bit.
It means a lot to offer your home to strangers and or the band that you're seeing that day. But like, holy fuck, sometimes like a whole family is sharing a towel, and like, and they're like, yeah, we have a towel. Go ahead and you can use it. You can use our towel. The worst place. There, I mean, I'm not gonna name names here, but in Ohio, after a show we played, that this person booked, it's very similar to your cat situation, except the living room was like the dog peed, like that was his place that he peed.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no idea about this. So I had this really nice like REI sleeping pad that I was like so psyched about. You know how you could just open them up and it would just self-inflate in like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Put it right in a nice pile, and it was just gone, dude. But I'm sure. Oh, you know, I've said it like some like rebel squats in Europe. Like it's in Europe, wherever the actual worst place I've been in.
I got one.
Okay,
I got one. Was that yours? Sorry, had to cut you off.
You're
gonna think of tenure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We had a 36-hour travel day to Bangkok.
Oh,
brutal. We get to Bangkok. It's the middle of the night, but it's like 95 degrees. We eventually, a thing about people from Thailand, which I found out, you know, Andrew Morrissey lived there forever and blah, blah, blah. It's like Thai people, not to be like generalized or anything, but Thai people are like very, like 9 o'clock can be 9:45. There's no like rush. So we got picked up later than expected. The only thing open to eat and the only thing that we were like willing to stomach is James had just, or no, this was later, but anything. We ate chips from fucking 7-Eleven, you know?
Fuck yeah.
And we get to the hotel again, covered in cats and just like smelling and just like, well, this is what, hey, we're in Thailand. Like, who are we to fucking whine, right? We get up to the room and we have them actually order another room because nobody wants to sleep on the floor. I saw a cockroach, you know, like, please, like, we got to get another room. And we asked when we were getting another room, like, how much is this other room? And it was like $18 American. And so we were like, huh. And while we're there and we don't have cell phone service to communicate. They're like, okay, we'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll come pick you up. We don't have a way to tell them, hey, we looked up rooms at the Hyatt and it's $35 a night. Pick us up from there. And we just had to like, I got one of those sleeping bag like sheets and was just in it. Because I fucking can't stand cockroaches, and I was just like this all night, just sweating, jet lagged, no AC.
Oh, classic.
Insane.
This is just
insane.
Yeah.
Have either of you guys taken that weird wooden bus that goes from St. Petersburg, Russia to the other Moscow?
Never been to Russia, but please tell us
never
about
been.
the bus.
Dude, it's okay. No air conditioning, sweaty as hell. It's made out of wood, dude. Like wood.
The bus, the frame of the vehicle is wood?
Is like there's metal, but then there's like wood. So it just creaks the whole time. And dude, it's like you're in it for like 15 hours. Like you have a bunk, you're like, you're going. Dude, it's awful. There's like one bathroom per like every like, you know, thing, like whatever those things are. The train thing. I don't know. Like what is it called? I don't know. Car. There you go. Train car. So like everyone shares this one bathroom. It's sweltering hot, and it's me, Holland, and someone else in this room. So Chris Holland, like big sweaty Chris Holland. Dude, I get in this room, I get in my underwear, and dude, I'm not a sleeper. I don't sleep I sleep 6 hours. That's like a long night for me. Like I've never been a sleeper. Dude, I slept for 15 hours in sweltering hot. I don't know how. Holland didn't sleep an ounce, like not one. He didn't sleep a second of the night. And the other person that was in there didn't sleep the entire night. And I literally like woke up and was like, as we were pulling in, like, hey guys, like the worst environment for me is this train situation.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was out the entire time. I don't know how it happened.
Dude, it was just your body's like fight or flight response.
Yeah,
like,
you fought and you flighted.
Well, ETA did do a tour. We only did 1-star hotels. The entire tour we did 1-star hotels.
That was like the point. That was the gimmick for that one.
That was literally the gimmick, that we were going to try to get 1-star hotels. And we had I can't remember the fucking tour it was, but we had one of those Sprinter vans that were like decked out. So like 4 people could sleep in there, and you could like, you know how it is when you go on tour, like you just kind of fit wherever you fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So 6 would sleep in there every night. So then whoever was driving and sitting shotgun would just go in the room and like sleep. But it was a 1-star fucking hotel. So like there's nothing worse than when you walk into a hotel and there's a folding chair. So like there's a folding chair in the corner, which I recently found out that is a pimp chair, they call it. So
inside the room?
Inside the room, there's
so
the normal shit, and then he sits and watches, so nothing weird happens. And I had no idea about, I had no idea about that. So me and our tour manager Mike at the time, we usually drove, so like we would sleep in the room, and like sometimes it wasn't that bad. Like it was just okay, here's a bed, you check it, cool, blah blah blah. There was a day, dude, where I was sitting there. I remember it was like really early, dude. We slept. We probably drove until like 3 a.m, got in there, and it was like 7 a.m. at this time. And I wake up to like something like crawling on my hand. And I wake up, dude, and there's just a trail of bugs just heading towards my face, dude. Oh. And I was like, how long has this been going on for? Like,
all night.
Like, dude.
Did you ever have a run-in with a pimp outside of a hotel?
Never. Never dude. Like that. But it was just like I remember like mentioning that to someone, and they were like, "Oh, that was a pimp chair," and I was like, "Okay, that makes." I've never stayed in a hotel ever that had one of those ever again.
In Louisville one time, God's Hate was going to Waffle House when we were approached by an employer of sorts, and this quote, in order to get us to buy his services, was, "I got 3 bitches and one of them bad."
That's it.
That's it.
What else you need to know?
I got 3 bitches and one of them bad. But you know what? You reminded me of something with that. Yeah. I didn't even think of like a hotel being the worst place I've ever stayed, but the Motel 6 down the street from Graceland in Memphis.
Yeah.
There's like one vacant room because everybody else lives in one.
Oh, so Christ, like one of those.
We were like parked in a spot where a guy came out and was like, "Hey, that's my spot," like in a Motel 6 parking lot. And Sean Martin is driving, going like, "What the fuck do you mean it's my?" And like Sean is like, like
yeah.
He goes from like the nicest man in the world to like, "I'm fucking insane," to, like, as we saw in the last episode. So we just had to leave. It was like, it was bad.
One time, early days of touring, so we would definitely only get like one, whatever the cheapest on Priceline room was. And I was laying on the ground next to the only bed. I kind of did one of these and stretched and reached my hand under the bed, and my fingers rolled over a syringe.
Nice.
Yeah, super sick. And I was like, that was cold and glass, and I checked, and sure enough, there was like a needle and everything on it. And
somebody was looking for that. And you found
somebody was like, "Oh,
I left it there."
Yeah, fuck.
I got 2 more weird places. One, I worked on like a Coheed and Cambria DVD for Doug Spangenberg, and Doug, like purposely, the crew was me, Doug, Anderson Bradshaw from Another Victim, and I can't remember the other person, but there was 4 of us that stayed it was in New York City, the Roosevelt or something like that. It's terrible. And the first night, Doug took like a sleeping pill or something like that, and he was like that, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to the store real quick. Do you want anything?" And I walk in, and I do these shitty things where I'll spend money just to like make someone laugh. So I bought this dumb fucking mask. I came back, woke up. He was like half asleep. I'm fucking standing there with a fucking mask. Blah blah. 2 seconds later, it's off and in the garbage, and like never wore it again. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. It's the worst thing ever. And we're standing there. Anderson Bradshaw knocks on the door. He comes. He goes, "Dude, there were porn bags like under the sheets." And then like under the sheets, there were porn bags, like comforter over. He did porn bags. Then he opened up one of the things, and like 4 cockroaches run by, like opened up a drawer, 4 cockroaches run by. So later that night, for some reason, he's now awake, even though he's got sleeping pills in him. We start wrestling, and it's like 2 like 5-year-old dudes like wrestling in a fucking. He was like 38 at the time. Anyways, we're doing like next thing I know, he takes like the lamp. I don't know if I can like move this right now, but he takes like a lamp and just throws it at my head, and it just boom, like whacks my head, and I'm like it literally like blasted me. Like the fuck. I grab him. I start, we start throwing each other around or whatever like that. We start noticing that like the room it looks smoky now, but it was just all the like dander, dirt, and shit. Just like, and now the room smells like dried shit. Like, dried shit. Like it's not shit anymore. It's just kind of dried shit. It's just,
it's stale.
Dude.
The air is stale.
So then we decide to see who can do a nip up first on the bed. So he's on his bed, I'm on my bed. And we're trying to do nip ups. And like he nips up in 2. I never got to a nip up. I was next to like the old iron radiator. Mm-hmm. As I'm trying to nip up on like the second one, my calf tightens up, like does like the old calf tighten up thing. I freak out in the air, fall in between the bed and the wall and the radiator is just burning me, dude. Like it's as hot as it can, and I'm stuck. But I'm like laughing super hard. And Doug had to actually like pull me up and pull me back on the bed. It was rough, man.
Was this only you two in this room? Or was there
That's
more?
it.
So you guys were like wrestling for only your 2 enjoyment?
Yeah.
It was like were you guys just like, hey, do you want to like you want to
No, it just started happening, dude. It just started happening.
You guys were like, stop. You stop.
The first bone I ever broke was because my friend in 6th grade, we were both full on Attitude Era, like Monday Night Raw, every Monday kind of guys. I had this futon mattress, and we kind of made it shaped vaguely like a table, right? And we would throw each other through it and blah, blah, blah. And he threw me off the top of a bunk bed, and I tried to land like Mick Foley. I broke my collarbone immediately.
That's what these are, brother.
And I went up to my dad. Oh, I see.
Gig marks?
Yeah, both from Hogan went over on the Pillow Buddy. Hogan went over, of course.
Yeah.
In it was like a ladder match or something I did in my mom's room. And then Taylor did this one. Hit me with the D'Lo Brown Sky High, baby.
Hell
Rocked
yeah.
me.
Dude, but I went to my dad, and I was like sobbing. My shoulder was dropped. Like it was a bad break, it fucking sucked. I went up to my dad and I was like, hey, Dad, in gym class like 4 hours ago, my friend Al, who my dad knew, who was also like my best friend, just throwing him under the bus. Al,
as you do,
he like tripped me, and I think it hurt my shoulder. And my dad was just like, it wasn't that noise I heard like 10 minutes ago.
Just knew automatically.
Immediately.
Yeah. So the other story is this, and it's just you turn into every time I die had made me a little soft in the tour world. It got too soft. You know what I mean? Like the job got a little cushy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when we went out on tour, we were in between breaks. I think it might have been like some damn thing was going on, so we couldn't tour. And I just hit up Trap Them, and I was like, hey, if you guys ever need another guitar player, like let me know, I'm off. So like I had went on tour with Trap Them. I did like a few of those Scion rock shows with them.
Yeah,
and like
the best.
They were the best.
What an era.
Yeah, Scion not around anymore. I wonder why. I mean, just hey, let's spend a ridiculous amount of money on bands that aren't worth it, and hopefully something will come out.
Have you ever heard
to people
them
who
talk
can't
about
buy
it,
a
though?
car?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard them reason that?
No.
That putting on that show was like any of those shows was like less than a single commercial, and if one person at them bought a Scion, the show was paid for.
No one was buying them,
dude. Especially, you know what they especially lost money in? I did a Scion tour playing drums for New Lows. That Ringworm Bitter End one was, and I got paid. I specifically requested. I was like, New Lows, you don't have to pay me, but I want Scion socks. I got about 40 pairs of them Scion socks. Do you remember them socks?
I do.
They're good socks. And I got about 35 pairs left. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. They were great.
That tour came here and I missed it.
Joke's on you, man.
Yeah, I missed it.
You could have seen me socked up.
But they would pay like ridiculous money, like for bands. I mean, dude, like my flight paid for it. And I remember telling Trap Them, I was like, I'm not gonna do this show if Zach can't come with me. So like Zach Cannon got paid to like come do sound for Trap Them. And like I hadn't toured with him in a while. It was fucking awesome. Right. And like anyways, so those were the Scion shows because there was money there. This was just me going on tour with Trap Them. And oh man, it was like Trap Them and maybe anyways, I don't know who the fucking bands were. It doesn't matter. I think Gaza was on it and someone else. And dude, we lasted 3 shows. So remember, cushy life. I was living the cushy tour life. Mm-hmm. These dudes go on tour and they're asking people to stay. I think we stayed at like 2 or 3 people's houses. And then I was like, guys, I'm going to get a hotel room for everybody every single night. Can't do this anymore. Can't do it anymore. Going to get a hotel room for you guys. And we got hotel rooms the rest of the time because I literally couldn't handle staying in people's houses.
No, there's the certain time where I can't be an adult and then someone's parent is like, oh, you guys, you playing covers or no? Like I can't. Yeah,
it's tough, man.
We're all past 30. You know?
Yeah.
I don't need to. I'm not sleeping on the floor again. I own a really nice bed. And if I'm not in it, I'm going to be in one comparable.
It sounds, I mean, it makes us sound, you know, but like,
sure.
Dude,
we did our time though, you know?
Yeah. 44 years old, man. I ain't sleeping on it. I can't do it.
You like especially with what you're doing tomorrow, you know, with your body. Yeah, the floor is not adequate to your needs.
Dude. The last ETID tour, I mean, I had to wrestle Ishii and Orange, like in the middle of the tour or whatever. And I remember we were obviously like, don't want to get into it. The band was having problems. Mm-hmm. And I just remember I remember sound checking and like Tony Khan kept calling me. And he was like, kept calling me, and I was like, guys, I have to stop sound checking. My boss is calling me. Like, went outside, and he was like, hey, can you be in like Norfolk, Virginia next week, Wednesday? And I was like, well, we're supposed to play Roswell, New Mexico. I think that can
might be.
Hey guys, is it cool if I go do this one?
Is it cool if I skip Roswell?
What was that?
Is it cool if I skip Roswell, guys?
I didn't want to. I mean, I really didn't want to. And the guys looked like they had a lot of fun. So, but I missed Roswell. And then went and wrestled Ishii, and like just from being in a van and like not sleeping well and stuff like that, like I tore my bicep in that match. Oh, and it was just like, oh, cool, touring's great. Like I remember being like, all right, like, and like things were starting to kind of like work out the way it worked out, and I kind of knew I was out at that time. Like, anyways, like I knew like 3 shows into the tour, I was not gonna keep up with the band. Like it just wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. And I remember like going back to it. I remember like being like, dude, tour is so hard, man. Like this cushy wrestling job that like, I destroy my body and stuff, but dude, I'm like sitting in a Marriott right now. And, like,
totally.
You know what I mean? Like it's pretty good. I was like, what am I doing? Like, what the fuck am I doing? And like, it was a really weird situation, which I'm sure like both of you guys probably have been through numerous times where you're like, is it worth it anymore? And then, you know, whatever happens, you know, you gonna get revitalized, and then, you know, you keep up on tour and stuff. But
I remember being very surprised that on the first tour that we did together in 2017, that you guys rolled like 12 deep in just a normal 15 passenger or whatever the green van was.
Everyone was super surprised by that. Like when we would like roll up, we would roll up on tours that we were headlining with bands that had buses. And then like at the end of the tour, you would literally, like, I remember like talking to dudes like in certain bands like that, we would do like co-headliners. So we would be getting paid exactly the same. And I remember like at the end of the tour, I'd be like, holy shit, man, I'm going to like
fucking
go
rich.
somewhere cool. I'm
Yeah,
gonna, like,
right.
you know, take Han out to a really nice restaurant. You know what I mean? Like just shit like that. And then you talk to the other dudes, the guys in the bus, and they're like, I don't know, man, I gotta pay bills and blah blah. And it was like, dude, you have a guy on tour doing nothing, and you're paying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And dude, it would hurt my brain, dude. And you see like young bands just taking dudes out that are just taking their friends' money, dude. Like, listen to me right now. Whoever's listening to this, don't fucking hire your friends. Hire professionals. Like, just hire fucking professionals to do their fucking job. When you hire friends, it's gonna fucking end bad every single fucking time. They're not gonna do their job right, and they're taking your fucking money, dude. Like, think about that.
I remember. Sorry, go ahead.
The risk of touring also is just kind of what obviously I'm just insane to begin with, so like a really long tour is taxing no matter what, but like I don't want to end up like Bo here getting my van stolen every 6 months.
Jesus Christ.
All my like
I gotta admit, dude, I honestly, I don't know if there's a band that has worse luck.
We every three, dude, no joke. 2012, we got our van stolen in Chicago. 2015, we got it broken into, had all our passports stolen and shit in Dallas. 2018, we had the trailer stolen. And then in 2021, the world shut down and we missed out on 3 tours. Yeah. Literally every 3 years, something happens. Granted, the last one, that happened to everybody.
Harm's way. More like Murphy's Law, am I right?
That's true.
Dude, you got to stop having equipment.
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
That's the kind of the way to do it is just rent everything, I guess. Like not actually own stuff and you have no risk.
I'll tell you what, man. Now that like, and before, Bo, you know me and gear. I'm a fucking monster. So obviously, like now, I can kind of go through my shit and not like worry about that stuff anymore. So it's like been really nice to help my like addiction of gear.
Yeah.
And but I did buy this thing called a Blue Gamp, which is like this big.
You sent that to me.
Dude, we practiced, like the 4 of us practiced, and I like used that. And it was so fucking ripping, dude. And I couldn't believe it, dude. It's this big. Like it's just like a little big.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a preamp pedal.
Yeah,
he said
like
to me,
Anthony
just got one of those.
Get one of these immediately.
But like, dude, you can, especially that like weird amp that you had, the weird like
the Marshall
like periphery amp or whatever. You had, like,
I still have that one. Yeah.
Periphery amp.
The Invective.
And and like it wasn't like this one was louder than that one. If that makes sense. It was, but it was like this big. It was just the weirdest thing. I would tour with all little stuff now. And then when people like go into when they, you know, open up the trailer, they're going to go like, what is this stuff? It's not big. It's not big stuff. Get little stuff and then they won't want it.
I would love for drum technology to get to a place where little stuff can be a thing.
Just a tiny little thing, dude, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah. Dude, you know what now I'm heated. You know what the most insane thing about that trailer getting stolen was? It was we were at the Luxor in the only extended lot on the Strip. That's why we always stay there. Rooms are fucking cheap. You could park a van with a trailer and it's on the Strip. Everybody can do whatever. Mm-hmm. Next door was Mandalay Bay, where the worst shooting in American history happened.
Yeah.
And we get told there's no camera on that lot. This is after the Mandalay Bay shit.
It was an inside job.
Of course. Dude. You know how in casino, it's like, he's coming out of the front desk right now. Like when we checked into that, the dude checking us, it was like, so what brings you guys to time making? And then he was like, oh, you guys in a band? Oh, do you have a kind of thing? Okay, just want to make sure. And it's
inside job, dude.
Always, dude. Dude, we stayed at this this hotel was terrible, but like it was right on those like hotels right in Jersey, like right when you get in from New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Secaucus, like that whole area. Like you can get a hotel for nothing. It was a Howard Johnson right on like
love a hojo.
The 9 or whatever that comes out of there. And dude, there was a like one of those, it was a gated fence all the way around it. Mm-hmm. Van and trailer right there with a guard walking around the premises. So I remember like walking out and seeing that the like lock in our door was like hanging out, and I was like, oh, and then you could see the door open just like a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, iPods had just come out. All of us had them, and they were all sitting in the middle console.
Oh,
right. So like immediately I'm like, oh, fuck, man, I'm out fucking $600 or whatever the fuck it is.
They were so expensive back then.
So expensive. And we open the fucking door. All of the iPods are there. The guy had to reach over the iPods to grab Jordan's like shitty Howard Stern Blade, whatever Howard Stern, whatever thing he was on. What was Howard Stern on?
Like
Not
serious.
Yeah, he had like a serious thing called a Blade. It was like, you know, if you're driving, it would sit right here, and he had to like run a wire that went outside. You know that gimmick with like the satellite dish or whatever. Dude, that was the only thing they took.
Wow.
And it had to have been the guard. Like there was a guard outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know how nothing else got stolen, but that guy must have been the biggest Howard Stern fan.
He's a big Beetlejuice guy, man. But he needed that
because he looked at our iPods and was like, not into this. Like whatever. Just kept looking at them.
Andy, do you remember on that tour we did in Toronto?
Mm-hmm.
You cut a promo and the whole tour package was down there. Like someone was coming downstairs and they were like talking shit about next week, blah blah blah, and then he walks into the room full of us. What like do you remember what that was for?
Yeah, it was a promotion in Toronto called Smash. And at the time we were working like regular for them. So like Buffalo's only 70 miles away or 90 miles away or something like that. So we were regularly working with that. And it actually is like one of my like better friends in wrestling, Kevin Bennett. And he was like, he had this like rap gimmick with like he had a heavy with him. And we were like leading up to this match, but he had showed up to the match and like, I had to like, or showed up to our show or whatever like that. And then had to like cut a promo. It's real weird. Yeah. But Smash, if you look up like Smash, Kevin Bennett, Andy Williams, you know, it'll probably come up somewhere. At least that promo will come up.
It's like all of Knock Loose, Eternal Sleep, and Harm's Way.
Yeah. It was awesome. I remember like for some reason, like it was like you or someone was like standing there like super hard. And I remember like wrestling friends being like, yo, where'd you find those guys? There was a guy standing there.
Probably James, honestly.
Just had to show tattoos, man. Like wrestling dudes, just like, oh man, had tattoo guys.
We were talking about this before, but the disconnect with wrestling and music is sometimes when a guy's growing up and he like knows he wants to be a wrestler, it's like, all right, I'm gonna get super jacked so I can be a wrestler. And when you're like getting super jacked and your life is getting super jacked, you get into music when you're like 25.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have time in your life to like get into music. So you're like an adult who's like, all right, I'm finally jacked. I know I'm going to do wrestling. What kind of music is out there?
Dude, I love all my wrestling friends. Like they're all great. But like, and I told them this is probably like 2 months ago. I was like, guys, I'm over being mad at people for liking music. Mm-hmm. Like it's just stupid. Like if you like your shit, you like your shit. Good, man. That's fine. And if you're listening to it and you're happy listening to it and you put it on, I'm going to respect it. I'm going to be happy watching you listen to music that you like listening to. And that's fine. Everyone listens to fucking Korn and Limp Bizkit.
That's crazy.
In this world, in wrestling. And dude, it got to the point where I was just like, I can't try to make you guys understand that those bands are bad. So now I'm just going to start liking it when it's on. And I had to like fix my brain. I still don't like it. I'm not putting it on in my personal time, but like when I'm hanging with wrestler dudes and they put Limp Bizkit on and they put Korn on, I just kind of roll with it now. Like it's not like, you know, it's not worth it. And like, it's sick that they want to know about other music and stuff like that. And it's kind of sick that they want to show me music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, that's where the idea came from for this podcast I want to do. And it literally is just like one day me, Hannah, and Orange Cassidy were sitting at this. There was like a day where there was some sort of holiday, but happened to all be at the same place. So we all went to this like barbecue place. There was like cornhole outside, and me, Hannah, and Jim, or Orange, are like sitting there. And he was just like he was just like, when someone's just like lost in something, like me and Hannah were like talking, and like Orange was just sitting there going like this. And there was like a pop song on with like some like female singer or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, he was like somewhere else. He was just sitting there listening to a song. And I just asked him, I was like, dude, what is it about this song that like you like? And he was like, oh man, like her voice is so beautiful. Like listen to this hook right here. And he was like started pointing out like hooks, and he started pointing out like
he gets it
stuff. Dude, you could see how much like music kind of like moved him. Oh. And I was like, dude, how sick would it be to like have people who aren't in music talk about music and why it makes them like move in some way, shape, or form. And dude, then you start if you think of it that way, and you see one of your friends who isn't into music like you, listening to something that you normally would never listen to, and then explain it to you, you start seeing it with a different perspective.
Well, and because there's no like gatekeeping of like, but the production is like,
they don't know shit about anything. They don't know who played on it. They don't know. They just know that they like the way it hits their ears.
That's like the most objective way to look. Like
it really is.
I have a phrase called coworker approved is my music phrase. Where if I write a song and I show it to somebody who like if I show it to Brody, you know, I know he's going into it like it's fucking suck. Like I know where his brain is coming from, you know. But Dejani Johnson, my favorite coworker ever from a TV show I used to work on. If I show him like Eyes Adjust, and he's like, that's when I'm like, all right, this song is good. Like, my coworker likes it. That means it's good.
Are there? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bo.
Are there other like besides Brody? Are there any corpsmen that you've met who you didn't know were into even anything close to kind of where we come from?
New York dudes kind of know about some shit.
Yeah.
Like I remember like I brought up like Candiria to like Ortiz, and Ortiz knew about Candiria. And I kind of like wrote this paper. And this is so weird at like 40, I was 43 at the time, and it was like last year, and FTR and LAX were gonna do they were gonna finally work for the first time. And I had, dude, like as a tag team wrestler, like that is seriously like fucking like that is like I'm trying to like
it's like FTR Beethoven playing with Bach for the first time.
No, not even like don't even like think of it like that. If you like look at their styles, it's like John Cougar Mellencamp versus like Candiria. Like it like LAX is like every single possible, Proud and Powerful is every single possible like genre in wrestling, where like they're gonna take some lucha thing. And now mind you, listen to the words I'm saying and equate it to music.
Right.
You can. So like they take elements of like lucha, Japanese, American, Memphis, old Florida, and they will take it and then turn it and like make it their way. So they'll take like the first half of a lucha move and finish it with like this like American strong style. And then you have this like weird hybrid where like FTR is mainly just fucking go, go, go. They're just workhorses. And like, it's like that. And I wrote this like paper about like the juxtaposition between like styles and how you can equate it to music, where it's like you have this like American like standard just hard rock. You know what I mean? Like, here we are. You know, these guys drive pickup trucks and fucking, you know, there's dirt under their nails and like, you know what I mean? Like, then you have like Proud and Powerful, who are like street kids who like took all this like all these different like things and made it into this like crazy thing. So like you have this weird hybrid like Candiria. And I remember like making them like playlists. I was like, here, listen to this, and like
this is you in music.
Yeah. And I literally was too late on it. Like I got it to Tony Khan, and I was like, hey man, like, can I like do something with this? and it was just too late. Like he already had stuff like planned for all this or whatever. But like I think of like wrestling when I think of like music, like almost like putting a playlist on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah.
A lot of things just clicked in my brain with that. That's very.
It's weird as fuck, man. When you see like you watch a certain match, like go back. There's a match. There's a really great match. If anyone wants to watch it, it's low key. In Japan, wrestling for Pro Wrestling Noah against Kanemoto. And that match, the way they structure that match, it's like the sickest. It's like a death metal match, dude. Like it's just fucking. It's so brutal, and like the way they like stack the end, it's just like a breakdown at the end of a song. Like it's like thinking of a song that like goes to a breakdown, like 43% Burp by like Dillinger Escape Plan, where you just have all this stuff and then they hit you with like the big fucking hammer at the end. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
And like it, if you can like equate that shit and watch wrestling and music, it's literally the same exact thing, but you're just watching, you're using your eyes instead of using your ears, but you're also using your ears because like certain bumps are bigger than other bumps. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
of course,
in the beginning of a match, you're going to have like pitter patter. In the middle of the match, you're going to have a few big ones, but like everything's just going to be like medium. And then at the end, it's going to be boom, boom,
crescendo.
boom.
Yeah.
Man, I wish more bands knew this analogy, because I don't think a lot of people that write music understand that, like, you need to make me stay till the end.
Yes.
There's other music is not your competition. Like,
no.
You know how many movies and TV shows I have access to right now that I want to watch, that I'm going to watch? But if I put on a new song and like you said, the middle of the song, give me the extra pitter patter, where I'm like, ooh, where's this going? And then the finish, give me something that like by the end, the finish is basically the only thing you're gonna remember.
Yeah.
In wrestling and in music a lot of the time.
Yeah. A lot of people remember the beginning and the end. That's it.
Give me
this
a
is
reason.
blowing my mind, dude.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Also, something I've noticed about very few wrestlers who are like really doing it, who I've met, and it's similar with musicians and touring musicians specifically, they do not mind talking shop all the time.
Yeah.
Like when me and my friend picked up Brody after the New Japan thing and we went and got food, I'm always like, I don't want to ask him.
Yeah.
And loves it.
Yeah. But the thing is like, that's like, it's like, I'm trying to like, being in a band is very narcissistic. There's a lot of things like that we don't, like normal people don't have fucking 400 people screaming at them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just not a normal thing. Like it's a very weird thing that we do. And like, it fills your head with weird things. And like understanding, like for 24 years, dude, I got adulation every single night. And then now I don't, I have it once a week, obviously, like I'm still in entertainment, but like that, like going into a show and like walking on stage with a guitar and then like everyone feels that presence.
Yeah.
It's a really fucked up thing to a normal person because they don't get that. You know what I mean? They never get that. So like, a crowd of like 4 people and them telling like a really cracking joke, like that's their audience. You know what I mean? And they never really get to feel what we do. Where was I going with this? What did we start talking about?
We're talking about the last thing I said was talking shop.
Oh yeah. So like, dude, it's a prideful thing. Like what we do is prideful. And like in wrestling, it's not in a band. So everything we do in wrestling, you build yourself. So like we have to build the character and we have to like make sure that character is like protected. And like, there's like a weird, like, it's a narcissist thing because like it's mine, you know what I mean? So like when you want to talk shop, of course I want to talk shop. I'm proud of this. You know what I mean? And I think that with wrestling, dude, it's so Wizard of Oz. You know what I mean? Everything is behind the veil. So of course you should have questions.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's what got me back into wrestling like 4 or 5 years ago whenever I started watching again, was because when I was a kid, I didn't know about the behind the scenes stuff. And then I was touring and you learn about music behind the scenes stuff and industry stuff and all that shit. And then once you put on like a couple top 10 moments of this or whatever on YouTube.
I love a top 10, dude.
Forget it. I mean, that's what did it. Is
thing.
Like the top 20 WWE returns of all time when when Diesel walks into whatever Royal Rumble that is and everyone goes insane. Like, and then you start to kind of watch shoot interviews and blah, blah, blah. And you realize like, this band got a push. Oh, this wrestler's getting like, it's the same fucking. And that is specifically what was the catalyst that got me back into wrestling a few years ago.
And that's why that's what this show kind of is.
Straight up. Yeah.
In a music sense.
Yeah.
Andy, one of my favorite.
But that's like the thing.
Please.
No, go ahead. No.
I'm segueing. So if you have anything else.
Tour. No, go.
One of my favorite memories, period, was 4th of July in the middle of fucking nowhere, Missouri. Yeah. And you grilling and us lighting off fireworks in a parking lot and getting yelled at and playing bags, cornhole, and just being like on Warped Tour with like, we say this often, and I'm gonna embarrass you a little bit, but we do say that like every time I die, from having not met you to touring with you to then touring again on Warped Tour, which is like simultaneously the easiest and most difficult tour at the same time.
I wish every one of my friends got a chance to do Warped Tour that didn't have the opportunity to like see it.
Yeah.
Because everyone would have like some sort of connotation. And it was like, dude, like you're living on a city. You live on this like weird moving city. And it's not the city you're in. It's this weird bubble. It's a weird, strange thing, but it's great.
I'll never know.
And yeah, I mean, dude, honest to God, I hope it comes back. I would love to do another one. It was straight up best tour we've ever done. I love it.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is you guys are often the example of like, if Harm's Way or whatever we're involved with ever like got bigger, got to a point where it's like where Every Time I Die was, it's like, that's how we need to operate. From like striking drums at small shows just to give the other bands room.
Yeah.
To like, you guys would finish and immediately start tearing down together as a group, to being easy about monetary stuff and all the like high end bullshit. That was it. Like you guys were straight up, and again, I'm gonna embarrass you, like the closest thing to rock stars in our music without being fucking assholes. You know what I mean? Without being a rock star.
Yeah. And it was just always like, you have to like, I think that like the five of us always had our only agenda for a show was that it was a show. You know what I mean? Like from the first band to the last band, like you're there enjoying the show. And like a lot of bands take that away from the opening bands. And like that would happen to us all the time. We would tour with bands we were friends with, dude. And we would open for them, and then they would push the drums. Dude, they have nothing on stage, but the drums would be pushed up as far as they could do. And you're like, and like, I've never like, I guess maybe now I would probably do it because like, it's kind of fucked up. Like looking back, like, dude, we're friends, and you know that like the band that we have to move around stage.
Yeah.
So you're literally taking that away from us.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
To make us, and you could push your shit back fucking like 8 feet. But like bands will do that, and they're like, I never wanted to get to a point where like we were doing that dumb bullshit where it was like our name needs to be this much bigger on the flyer because, you know what I mean? Like it's so petty and bullshit, and you're missing the point. And if that's the shit you care about on tour, like you honestly don't get it.
That's exactly my point. That you guys were like the perfect example of a band that had momentum and was killing it, but was fucking super punk and DIY.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, we learned it all from Converge.
I know that. I know that. And we've toured with them too. And I can say the same thing straight up.
Yeah.
Just
and that was like,
easy.
Dude, like Converge is like the model band. I mean, like regardless of music, like they're the model band. They've been together for 30 years.
Yeah.
Like doing what they want to do. They never fucking ever compromised, and they still aren't compromising. And they did a record that you could consider a compromise with fucking Chelsea Wolfe, and it ended up being like one of the best records.
Oh, it's awesome.
That's awesome.
It's unreal, dude. Like,
and I think
to me,
Neurosis is their Converge, right?
Yes.
Their
yeah,
example.
and that's true. That, like, again, dude, like, you want to talk about a band that's done everything they've ever wanted to do, and that should be the goal, dude, right?
Be
to being in a band, doing everything you want to do. Well, also be Neurosis. Yeah.
You know what I'll never get to do?
What?
Tour with Every Time I Die.
Well, you don't know, but maybe you'll tour with me though.
Now you're cooking, baby.
There you go, dude. Yeah.
This was a wonderful pleasure.
We barely talked about touring. I mean, we talked about some bugs on my arm and then stuff like that. Well, do a part 2. I'll do this anytime. You guys ever ask me, I'll always do it.
Yeah, there are certain people who I know we will have on.
Yeah.
Because I just know we just scratched the surface.
Give them categories every time. Next time I'm on, like, have like a bullet point that we can talk about. And then that way you just
yeah.
And then the next time you pick another one, and then anyways, this is a great. That's an awesome background. But this is a great podcast. Like, if you guys like honestly like do this right and have people like talking about tour and like, it's kind of hard. And like I said, I didn't really want to talk about this stuff, but I'll just say it right now. I just haven't talked publicly about the band breaking up. So like, it's one of those things like, man, you guys don't realize like when it's gone, you don't realize how much you respected it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that type of thing, the little bullshit that like, dude, showing up at a venue and seeing a fucking monitor guy wearing a fucking kilt, like, I'll never fucking, you know what I mean? Like, it's gone, man. Like, you know what I mean? And then like, I want that. And when you don't have it, you've done something for 24 years, like you start realizing like, when the band first broke up, I was like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm 44. This has been the thing that made me money for so long. And like, how long, wrestling is it's only going to last. I'm 44, dude. You know what I mean? So you have these freakouts like that. And then there's like grieving, and I'm still grieving and stuff like that. But like, you just have this, like, these weird memories that you kind of remember. And it's not the memories you think you would remember when something's gone. And it's the dumb shit. It's just the dumb shit. It's like going to eating steak in Vegas. You know what I mean? Like, with
that was one of the best meals of my whole life, dude.
You know what I mean? Like that type of shit.
Shout out Delmonico's. Shout out to Emerald.
But like, like it's things like that like you don't realize you're not going to have one day. You know what I mean? And it's hard to think about. I thought I was going to get way more emotional, and I'm not. So that's great. So that means I'm kind of moving on. But like, it's that shit where like, dude, like, I used to hate getting up in the morning and getting in the van. Now, dude, when Hannah and I like get to go drive somewhere, I'm like I'm so ready to get in the van or car and go.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And she's been really good at that. So she'll like always kind of take me on a little like road trip just so I can get back on the road, get a sheets in me, and then go home.
And she's the best, man.
Colin, we once on Warped Tour, we Ubered from wherever we were in maybe West Virginia.
Yeah.
Ubered into Ohio just to go to Sheets.
Yeah.
It just made a run.
And like during the day, you're probably like, man, like, we're just gonna do this. It's gonna be a pain in the ass. But now you think about that and you talk about that, and you're like, I would give anything to do that again.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything. Yeah.
The biggest inconveniences become the best memories.
Yeah, because dude, and the thing is too, man, like, the one thing that like I hope that you guys, I mean, you guys have been touring for a really long time, but like, don't like lose the wonder, man. You know what I mean? Like, go see shit and fucking, there were so many times where like, I wish I had spent the time to just walk around downtown some city or like go see something. And, it's, I always kind of got freaked out. I would get to town and I would like, be like, oh man, I got to get a workout in. I got to, you know what I mean? I'd have like my list and I totally blew past like seeing stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
So now it's cool. Like when I'm in these cities and I can like get up early and just kind of cruise and go see some shit and then go to the show. It's kind of nice.
I kind of just got the Wonder, which sucks.
I
got it a little too late. I look at some of the cities I've been. I'm like, well, I would have liked to have done that, and I think I was just so tired.
Oh man,
the whole time that I never did anything.
Yeah,
dude,
you got to do it.
Yeah, we have we're like a 5 out of 5. Everyone goes and does stuff.
Yeah,
kind of a thing. Taylor, your brother, didn't do shit.
No, that's where I get it from. I tour with him, so I'm in the don't do stuff band. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You also tour with your brother, man. That's like really cool. Like that, like to me, like that's something that like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I never had a family member on tour with me. I wish I had.
It like Taylor and I's dynamic is like very unique. You know, he's like kind of my brother, kind of my best friend, but also we'll be like, fuck you, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Which is, you know, that's par for the course. But it keeps us both well behaved, I think. Like neither of us are like what's the word? I don't know. Like neither of us are freaks, like in any capacity. So I think being together, we're like maybe that's why we're not fun to tour with, and maybe you might want to quit our band. So like I get it, but I think I'm ready to start having fun.
Oh wow.
Yeah, dude.
But I'm not touring anymore, so it's like it's too late for me to have fun.
Yeah, but dude, God's hate. You're gonna go to Japan.
Yeah, you know you're gonna be touring. Don't say you're not touring. You're actively in like 16 bands. At some point in time,
everybody
one of those
thinks
bands
that, but only like one of them is even doing stuff. There's a new one,
but that one can kill fests.
Yeah.
The last time us and Every Time I Die played together was at Unify Fest in Australia. That paid super great and is basically like a one-off Warped Tour show. And E-Tid played, and it was one of those like kind of things. And
we were there for 18 hours. I remember that.
There's no
Wait, did you
reason.
stay at that? Wait, did you guys stay at that weird house with us?
No, we drove back to our friends.
Oh, we stayed at the scary house, and this big house in the middle of this field. And I had just listened to this like true crime story about a fucking city in Australia close to where we were, where these dudes came in and literally like macheted a family.
Oh, sick.
So I'm like, I was terrified to stay. I was like, I remember like calling Han, and I was like, dude, I might get macheted tonight. Like someone might come in here and fucking machete me. I can't listen to true crime anymore. I can't listen to true crime anymore.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I can't do it. Yeah.
All right, you perverts. It was surrounded by high grass, and they straight up were like, "Don't go in there."
Yeah.
Just like don't wander into the grass.
Because there's a machete guy.
No, fucking velociraptors or whatever they have.
Oh.
Yeah, there could be anything. Dude.
Australia's got those real bad.
Something could grab you and just take you.
No one would ever know.
Yeah.
Well, all right, man.
This was a wonderful conversation.
Hour 20.
Have me on again.
Yeah,
you got
absolutely.
it, dude.
Yeah.
This might be 2 parts. I don't know. It's fucking long.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Do it.
But
have a segment. I'll tell a joke every week. I don't know.
See, you'll be our what's the guns?
Duff McKagan.
Yeah, you'll be our Duff McKagan.
But I'll do it like this, and then I'll just leave.
All right. This was a pleasure, Andy. It's always good to see you. It's been so long. We might see you this month I might see you at Double or Nothing. So that'll be nice.
You'll 100% see me at Double or Nothing. I'll be there.
I might.
Yeah. If you're gonna go there, I'll be there.
Now we're cooking, baby. Yeah, well, we'll see you all next week. Andy will be back very soon because this was just so lovely.
Please.
So thank you guys, and see you next week.
Please. All right. Love you guys.
Bye.
That sucks. Okay.